Alright, welcome back to another episode of primarily asymmetric and occasionally symmetric warfare against our alien opponents. As part of the Academy's negotiating strategy of punching the opponent repeatedly in the face, threatening them with a gun, and then saying, hey, would you like to be friends? This is the target for today, Steel Spear Base. It'll give us a chance to confirm, as I suspect, that there are no Hydra on planet Earth, plus it will clear the aliens out of Callisto. We have only our station in orbit and only our fleet in orbit, so with this will be the last permanent sign of the aliens in the Jovian system. Kinda handy if we can eliminate it. If we can indeed eliminate them, we can, once our construction model goes up, begin occupying all these bases. Callisto is a good candidate for a place that could potentially fit a population of at least 50,000 and allow us to truly claim to have colonized the Jovian subsystem. Awesome. We do have I accidentally sent only one battleship off to the Saturn subsystem. I'm actually intending to send two, so I'll need to intercept with a second one, just to start causing problems in as many subsystems as possible. This is to discourage the aliens from grouping up into dread fleets that can actually hurt me and encourage them to try to respond to multiple threats, get confused, and as a result fight multiple battles that I can either win or just run away from if I can't win. Other than that, we're in a solid position. Every planet has a permanent defense fleet, and our big action group is going to clear through the asteroid belt. If we do eventually get the MC and budget, at the moment I basically bankrupted myself on noble metals. I've spent the entire pre-war stockpile, as I always do. I save up a lot of resources before the war, and then volatiles, nobles, I tend to spend my way through all of those. And then you get resource production going in your new holdings, places like Callisto, Io, and that gives you the economy to then build the war fleet you need to actually, hopefully, win the game. That's the theory anyway. Wish me luck. And I haven't actually given up on restoring relations with humanity first. I've almost finished taking countries off them that I need to target, so getting a few generous trades and working up from hate back to a state of peace is at least hypothetically possible. And if I can get a little bit of money or a little bit of resources out of them for it, well, then that's all the better. They won't give me any exotics, but they might give me like 600 money. So there you are. Generous trade. Hans Castillo will still hate us, and we'll have to repeat that process a couple of times. But as you can see, we are still at war with them. We are in conflict with Exodus, and we're at war with everyone else, although only just with the Resistance. So if we can sort of patch things up with humanity first, the Resistance, and Exodus, that's great. In terms of beating down on the servants, we're doing really, really well. They're down to 81 of their CP cap utilized, which is fantastic. Like they have very, very few holdings. We've managed to brutalize indirectly. Only Exodus is doing reasonably well. The servants now have like 81 CP worth of countries, and I'm going to take even that. I want the servants to have 0 control points on planet Earth. That is my ambition for the servants. And then the protectorate, again, hopefully the goal, 0 CP. If I can get them both to 0 ground-based presence, that would be ideal as far as I'm concerned. Their space economies I'm not too worried about. They are finally researching alien technology and industrial support agreement. What does that do? That sounds like some sort of working with the Hydra thing. They're also got the coexistence pact halfway researched, but you know what? With this economy, you're not going to threaten anyone, and as soon as my new Marines arrive, I'm going to take their stations from them as well, at least the ones around Earth. There are servant and protectorate positions active in the asteroid belt, but I'm not as worried about those. I think prioritizing the alien bases is more important. If we can take away the alien assets, then we'll be in a comparatively better position. I'm not worried about the ability of the servants to stage any significant challenge, because the moment they launch a warship, I just destroy it, whereas the aliens shutting down their economy is critical. Let's get to it. Alright, there goes the last permanent alien presence in the Jovian subsystem. We haven't been able to draw them into a massive battle for the furball for the Jovian system. They seem to instead be raiding just about everywhere else. They are forming up a couple of major fleets that will engage around Earth, but that's okay. I think the Earth Defense Fleet at the moment, which is 3 Oxford Flight 2s, I think if they're slightly reinforced, they should be able to handle everything that comes at them, especially if the aliens go after stations first, get weakened by point defenses, and then engage by the fleet after the fact. The fact is, we're right next to our resupply depot, so I'm always going to have a full load of KPS. They're going to arrive with maybe half their fuel burned, which means at the end of the day, I'm always going to be able to intercept. That's the real point of the endgame engines. Switching between the point where you can't possibly catch the aliens without using pincer maneuvers and things, to the point where you can just run them down with, your superior reservoir of Delta V. Target is now the Eternal Memory Base that is around Margaret, which is a object around Uranus. So this is again designed to prompt a potential response for them to scramble resources over here, although also eventually we're going to want to settle in this system just to make a point. Neptune and Uranus, Saturn, all of those subsystems need a human presence on the ground colony hab, so we get both the achievement and also we can prove that we are building a viable space future for humanity. I think we are getting there. The cost deficit is significant, but I think we can fund with antimatter. I started this game, and I don't think, despite the patches, the price for antimatter has changed that much. So I should still be able to run a significant profit basically off the antimatter game. I would expand further, but I don't have the noble income to support it at the moment. Once I've got a whole bunch more mines, we might be able to ramp up our antimatter game. And yes, there is the question, should the Academy sell antimatter to the public? I haven't sold any yet, so if you would like me to not fund a global utopia by selling antimatter to research labs and responsible governments, do tell me and I'll prohibit the practice. But for the moment, that is part of my plan on how to balance my otherwise very negative economy. Alright, so we've now finished the construction module in orbit of Io, which means we can start laying bases. And I'm going to lay a base every single one of these. We can upgrade them later, but for the moment, let's just found outposts literally everywhere. This way I don't even have to click. No other humans are allowed to take glorious Io. And then the structure of the average mining station is going to be very, very simple, because the key here, at least at the start, what we're looking for is very simple. We just want mining yield relative to MC. So you slap down an outpost mining complex, a fusion pile, which will pile both the outpost mining complex and something else, well, 5 power towards something else. Grab a second fusion pile so you have a little bit of extra power, and then I'm just going to throw a point defense array. That isn't great, but it might allow just a little bit of time for Battle Fleet Jupiter, or Defense Fleet Jupiter. We're not humanity first. We only have defense fleets, not battle fleets. We're wonderful, nice people. We only defend ourselves. You wait for those guys to arrive, and you're all the better for it. These will have very slight costs in terms of water and volatiles to maintain, which makes them very, very slightly, in some ways, less efficient than tier 3s, plus you get less yield, but they're so much cheaper in terms of MC. So for the moment, these I think are a pretty safe way to go, and importantly, they'll also start producing very quickly, which should make me feel a little bit better about ramping up my economy, building more control centers, and getting more antimatter production, and also building a second fleet to start scouring even more alien targets. We've got one Doom fleet flying around. I'd like a second Doom fleet, so that one can work close to home and one can go do exciting things in the outer solar system. Fusion pile. Anyway, I will complete this construction process and be back shortly. Alright, chalk up another base. Let's see how many they've got left. There is an intercept fleet on the way to MG02, but that's okay, because they're not going to stick around to be intercepted. We're going to go back to Io and refuel there. Or is it faster to go to Earth? Nope, it's perfectly fine. We're going to be better off going to home plate Io. So let's ignite a bit of a burn, and I don't think anyone will be able to catch us from there. Fan-bloody-tastic. Let's do a quick base count. That's looking better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bases left, of which 3 are on their home planet in the Kuiper belt, which is why I'm considering, even if we're not ready for our objective, launching a raid out to the Kuiper belt, launching a Doom fleet out there to clear the defensive station, and then start dropping Marines to eliminate 2 of these 3 bases, and maybe nuking the shit out of Alien Surface Base Alpha. That will just leave these bases around Saturn and Neptune and a couple asteroids, including Ceres, producing. But the more we can take this economy offline, the better. The aliens have got more fleet power than me, but I reckon in a fleet fight right now I can probably handle them. I'm taking them apart just fine. The challenge, in a way, I think, is actually going to be the 75% of Earth control point value, which is why I'm focusing so heavily on expansion at the moment. I am also going to have to hunt down the alien fleets, but if they lose the ability to replace their ships, well, then I'm in a good position to eventually eclipse them just through the sheer power of the Academy's economy. Try saying that 3 times quickly. And with the MC freed up, I'm just going to casually lay 16 surface bases on Callisto. Each of these is about to be turned into, again, a tier 1 mining base, because look at those sweet, sweet yields. It doesn't always add up to much, but that's a huge flow of resources. In particular, I want to get those volatiles into my bank account. I want to get the limited amount of nobles that are available and a huge chunk of base metals. It's always good to have. And these are just so shit cheap to run and maintain. So cheap. So I'm going to go through and set all 16 to construct our basic setup, and then it's back to planet Earth for more map painting and Utopia building. This should do the trick for some of those bases nicely. This is the Terra class monitor. Could build something bigger, but this is quick, very, very long ranged, very, very cheap comparatively, 0.26 fissile materials, and it gives you 4 tubes of Nemesis nuclear torpedoes plus a spare reload. That gives you a grand total of 40 nuclear torpedoes, each packing a 1.2 megaton warhead. Not bad. Less firepower overall than like a single SAR bomber, but that's still an awful lot of nuclear devastation in one relatively cheap package. Let's build them. One thing I can do in countries before I take them over, if I am interested in maximizing a little bit of return, is, for example, I can drop a grand total of 6, which is Mali's maximum mission control in Mali, for a reasonable amount of cash before I take it over to maximize the return from these small countries. Similar with, it requires that they have a space program in place, but Upper Guinea does as well. So as long as I'm willing to sell resources in order to generate cash, or if I can get better cash flow, this is one way to improve my ground-based MC to augment the slow building stuff that I'm doing around Mercury. Just another tip. The king of planets is overhead, promising to dominate our skies now and always. The first Jovian base has been founded. Well, the first 9 Jovian bases has been founded, but it is what it is. The crew number, the population number is still pretty low. It's 162 people. It might get up to 500, 600. These are not the multi-thousand person bases that we're producing elsewhere, but they're good, efficient resource operations, and sometimes that's what you need. Alright, our major action group Enlightenment, has arrived to clear an alien shipyard off this asteroid, but there is a mothership, the Wandering Star class, the Transcendent Fury, in orbit, which means we get to neutralize the mothership while I'm here, which I'm hoping turns into an exotics pinata. So let's engage. Both sides are willing to fight. They have 0 KPS because they tried to engage unsuccessfully in my ships before. So let's start the battle. And all that matters here, I believe... Wait, where's the mothership? Where's the mothership gone? I feel cheated. I was promised mothership loot pinata. Well, there was no mothership, but you know what? It is what it is. Let's find out where the mothership is or went. That's very disappointing. I was promised mothership. Yeah, okay, so it's saying the mothership wasn't there. Let's now advance time very slightly. So we regain control of our unit. Okay. Victor 17... Okay, Victor 184. Alright. We'll engage that. Okay, there's the Transcendent Fury. Great Wall Center. Engage. Start. Okay, there's the Transcendent Fury. Okay. So now you're going to see plasma is a terrible counter to motherships because of the sheer amount of armor on them. But we have an awful lot of plasma. So retract the radiators and let's go. Alright, incoming missiles. Hopefully our nose phasers will be in a position to deal with that. As you can see, there is an awful lot of incoming. Let's start bringing everyone in on facing so that they can engage with their weapons too. But I think we've got more than enough PD to make this work. Yeah, we've been able to endure everything it threw at us. That's fine. And now those green phasers make for a beautiful light show. They're doing nothing, but, you know, beautiful light show. Eventually, the plasma just ablated through. If you bring that much plasma, then you can kill anything. So I feel like there's a rule in Terra Invicta, and it's pretty simple. You must control the ISS. It doesn't matter if it has any tactical value or whatever. So the property litigation team, they're going in to litigate ownership of the International Space Station, which, to be fair, has seen better days, but, you know, doesn't belong in the hands of the servants. We can build it into something better than it is, and we will. And while we're building Utopia, let's build some mega engineering. So the Malacca Strait Bridge will link Kuala Lumpur and Medan, give a slight GDP boost, but mostly we're doing it because building really big bridges is cool. Is it economically valuable? No, our armies all have navies, but, you know, it'll boost GDP slightly, and it's kind of cool. India, meanwhile, is up to $230 trillion worth of GDP, with an average GDP per capita of 48,000 and climbing, 51.3 investment points, and once we disband the military or bring the military home, once we have finished expanding in Africa and South America, well, that's going to go even higher. 205 mission control, 517 funding per CP, and 2.1 inequality and falling. Once that hits 1.9, we can ease off and we can go knowledge and push this 9.4 to 10 flat. Once we get to 50,000, 10 and low inequality below 2, I think that pretty much counts as pretty utopic, and we can push the economy to see how big we can get it. We're doing climate change mitigation, so doing that shouldn't ruin the Earth. So let's see if we can give 4.7 billion people, for example, let's see if we can give them living standards equal to the contemporary United States. That'd be a pretty good achievement. Well, I'm pushing back, but the aliens don't seem to want to give up. Horus Manned Station around Mercury. The battle fleet for Mercury... the defense fleet, we are the Academy for Mercury, is on the way, but for the moment the station will have to defend itself. This is a relatively important station, because it's going to be housing a whole bunch of super colliders, but they're currently updating. Alright, so we got a whole bunch of missiles coming in. Got an enemy destroyer already down. The lasers are always a threat because layered defense arrays don't have much armor protection, so enemy lasers are actually a really big threat. Because even at long range, they do a significant amount of damage relative to what they would against a warship that has a significant armor protection. Go, go, PD, go, go. Man, I would be so frustrated if I was my opponent because those missiles came so close. That was so excruciatingly close because you don't need to get many through in order to destroy a layered defense array. Anyway, Faithful Wanderer should be destroyed. The phasers will be really effective as ships become, like, coming in close. I reckon the Winged Victory will probably be out of range by now, which means we're going to have to accept the draw. It's drifting. Luckily, I believe they've changed this. There we are. So, whoever says we accept a draw first, whoever presses that button first, if the battle is a draw, counts as losing, essentially, which means we still get the 5.7 exotics. Now, that alien will drift and then eventually be destroyed. The layered defense array should repair themselves, And these, oh, sorry, they're research campuses, not antimatter. These should be online soon, so all is well. Aliens may be trying to harass me, but I promise I'm going to stick the knife right in them in the outer solar system, which means let's go back and check out AG Titan. There we are. So let's merge AG Titan with Alpha 57. So this is now a 10 warship fleet, a lot of battleships and dreadnoughts, which means with this in tow, we should be able to fight a successful battle for Titan and the system. All we need to do is refuel them using the refueling station that we're setting up in orbit. There we are, Ku in Tunisia. And does that station not yet have a refueling point? That station may not yet have a refueling point. Construction module is still under construction, and this has got a point defense array. I don't want a point defense array, I want a shipyard. Space dock. And let's upgrade the whole thing to a ring core. So it'll be 30 days before the battle fleet out here at Titan can refuel. Once it can refuel, it will be able to travel out and engage the victors that are defending the base facilities and whatnot that are over here. So we can engage 164, 132, and hopefully destroy Obsidian Fortress Station and destroy Ithaca Chasma, which is the decaying proton base. Ripping apart yet more of the alien economy sounds like a good idea to me. And then we can settle the Saturn subsystem in relative peace. I have science ships on the way to do the scanning. Our probes are obviously not going to be here for years, so science ships are the way to go. Where are you going? Oh, you're intercepting. So he's going to try and intercept the science ship that I've got on my burning on my way to this system. I reckon my science ship can kill him, though. Iron Resolve class corvette, light mag cannon, glitter. Yeah, I've got enough PD for you, mate. You got a lot of combat value, but you're going to be embarrassed when you find your target. There's our base in the Saturn system. The rings, they are even better in person. Luckily, we completed social media campaigns at the same time, so we can tell everyone about it. So that would be the outpost core at Titan Landfall, and we've completed a construction module in orbit. So, looks like we'll be finishing construction module here in May, mining complex in January. So we have a presence at the very least in Titan. Looks like the orbital system will be finishing the shipyard soon, which is fantastic. Very, very important because we need that to refuel this fleet before it can go and engage the enemy. That said, we now have Titan occupied. Does that mean I can build outposts in 30 days? I can. So when more mission control comes online, we can, just as we have elsewhere, spam out a whole bunch of settlements on Titan in order to establish our ownership here. You can already see the economy is starting to recover really well now that I'm starting to be able to spam out facilities. I've got a whole bunch of mines that are completing. I'd really like some more mission control stations to finish rather. So I might go build a few more of them around Mercury, expanding the Dyson sphere. Plus, I'm once again having noble metals, so once I produce enough of those, I need to go destroy that disabled alien vessel at some point for its sweet, sweet exotics. But let's get another 20 odd points of mission control in construction. I know I've got a lot already, but you know, you can never, well, you can have too much, but right now you probably can't have too much. I'd also really like my super colliders to finish so that my economy can come online. Seeing the minus 4k per month does make a man nervous. And I know they're bringing in a tool that allows you to rebuild template stations. It'll be great for sort of like rapid printing these command stations and things like that. So there you are, yet another one stamped around Mercury. How are we doing in terms of stations? We're a bit over halfway there. We will absolutely fill up Mercury before this playthrough is over. In fact, I may even do one more now, but you don't have to see me do it. Now, I pity the poor crew on that station, which I think has a crew of like 50, who have to load 14,000 tons of hydrogen to get AG Titan back up and working. That said, our water and production is high enough. I love hydrogen powered engines simply because you can get water upkeep for basically all your stations down to 0 through agriculture facilities, which means you can then use all of your water production on your engines. And like, what else are you going to use them on? Realistically, what else are you going to use your water for at this point? Yeah, crackdown in Tunisia is fine. We're not going to hold Tunisia for a particularly long time. Alright, so Morocco is conquered. We're positive again on cash, thanks to some nanofacturing complexes that are coming online. We should be seizing control of... We'll be declaring war on Mauritania in just a moment in order to absorb it. So let's just move that force down here. Oh no, it'll be just as quick to deploy it from there. And then what we can do is we can, once we seize control of Tunisia, its executive, we can unally Italy and move in there. And then our Africa is very close to complete. It'll just be, I believe, Eritrea over here, which I'm bringing down Caliphate forces to absorb because it is totalitarian zero flat, like an awful place to live. And we're also taking over, well, purging the CP of Senegambia, at which point Africa should be united and we can finally, in good conscience, declare a federation, or a union of the Caliphate and the African Union in order to create a nice, beautiful blob that stretches all the way from here to here. I think the joint population is going to be something like 2.5 bill, which is not even half of what Super India is, but that's still an awful lot of people. And here's how you use nuke boats in an era before they decide to give land-based facilities point defense, because at the moment, land-based defenses are much more powerful than space-based defenses in terms of firepower, but they don't have any point defenses, and you, as the attacker, get the first volley. Now, if you're packing megatons and megatons and megatons of nuclear weapons, what you can do, hopefully, is land the hits on the base before you're intercepted. And if you are intercepted, like this, hitting evade, bidding 300 kps or whatever, haha, the mothership is not capable of engaging me, I'll become available for deployment again, close, bombardment. We have destroyed the alien base on Ceres. Simple as that. Now, the question is, do I want to fly my nuke boats to another base, or do I want to try and take out that mothership for the exotics? I'm already planning to destroy the one on Saturn, so I could fly to Neptune or 536 Merapi, or I could try and destroy their mothership. How many missiles did we use? 1. We used 1 torpedo. Oh no, we don't have Harlequins. These are just pure base-destroying nuke boats. They don't have Harlequin missiles to distract PD, so we're not going to be able to kill that mothership like this. Unfortunate, because I would have loved the exotics, and I would have loved to knock their fleet power down a little bit, because where are we at on fleet power at the moment? We have about 38%, and they have 62%. So we are outbuilding them, outscaling them, but I think we're just going to have to go destroy their home base instead. So, where is 536 Merapi? Let me go find it. Alright, I'm deploying Action Group Titan. Just clearing up the tech tree. Hey, climate change mitigation. Fantastic. What do we want after climate change mitigation? Do I want Accelerando? I think I want Accelerando. The other thing is getting a whole bunch of extra fusion technologies just protects against the energy crisis. So those have been handy as well. This is cheap, so we'll get hydrogen, lithium 6, and then we'll get Accelerando. And here, what's the boron inertial? That doesn't look very good. None of these engines look very good. I'm not sure they're necessarily worth getting. Let's get Do I even want exotic heat sinks? I don't think I want exotic heat sinks. I think I'm going to obsolete that. Nanotube filament radiator, we don't need that. Strait of Gibraltar crossing is cool, let's grab that. I want a small fleet battle, or rather a series of fleet battles, because I'm trying to engage as many ships as I can, one at a time, without actually engaging the station. Now, if he evades me, which actually, you know what, he's going to evade me, so that's okay. What we can do to force the engagement is engage the fleet at the station. We could just destroy the base, but I think if I engage Victor 8, it will force a fleet engagement. Alright, much better. So, 3 enemy... Is that a destroyer with a laser array? No, it's a frigate with... Yeah, no, it's a frigate with a laser array. Okay. Let's go high wall. Center, which should give us like roughly a 3x3 box. Not all of our ships have the full range, but most of our ships have a decent range. And at the drift, because we don't want to move into range too much, we should be able to engage the ships before we engage the station. Dreadnoughts will fire first. Unfortunately, they do get their full complement of missiles off first. But that's okay. That doesn't look like too much for our phasers to handle, if the neighbouring ships will help out. Alright, plasma incoming from the station. No, plasma incoming from one of the ships. Ah, so the next generation plasma ships are arriving. Bit too late, my friends. Humanity decided to industrialize plasma technology. You may have had it from the beginning, but we have industrialized it, friends, because there's close to 10 billion of us, and there are like 7 of you. So we'll just drift into range. The dreadnought should be able to engage. I'll just extend the radiators for a moment. Kill any heat that anyone might have. And then put the radiators into retract mode again. Alright, so they're 8 of 1,000. That's more. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Now if I just do a quick test priority target, what is that range? 1,100, so we're almost in range. At 1,000, the firing will commence. This would be a nervous moment for a crew, and they wouldn't have the benefit of sped up time. And the problem with this sort of combat is it's just a matter of how quickly you can do your job. There's no way to evade, there's no way to hide, there's no bush, there's no trench, there's no nothing. It's just how quickly can you operate your weapon system, and what target does your opponent pick. That's it. Mechanical reliability and speed of operation, and then it's just physics. How much armor does the enemy have to ablate versus how much firepower are they choosing to apply to that armor? It's just scientific. It's physics. And I'm not sure whether that is extra scary compared to, like, for example, urban combat in city terrain against a irregular opponent, or whether this is actually more horrifying. Seeing your opponent, drifting towards them, and then from there it just being math. It reminds me of like line of battle, infantry. How quickly can you load and fire, load and fire, load and fire? We've got one battleship that looks like they are zeroed on battery. We've lost one battleship. But we're working our way through their guns. Enemy are down to 3 layered arrays. Alright, so we lost one battleship, but we did clear them in terms of their station. 10.3, I like it. And then hopefully we have enough Marines on board the Force. So we will destroy Hab. We cannot assault the base, and the nuke boats aren't here yet, but that's okay. we can probably afford to clean up one or two of these fleets that are in orbit. So we will do so. And then it's back to base to rearm, refuel, and most importantly, to repair. Alright, it's going to be 31 weeks. So we'll arrive in September of this year, 2037. We'll have basically no DV left when we arrive, but that's okay because what we will do is we will found a... I do have a platform founder with this force, right? I have not forgotten... Yeah, fusion platform kits. Okay, great. So we do have platform kits. I was very, very, very convinced that I had platform kits. So what we'll do is we will fly out to the alien headquarters, and we'll basically do a bit of a base camp. We will spawn camp them, destroy their wormhole base, or at least destroy everything except for the wormhole facility, do a whole bunch of damage to their economy, and see if we can attract a lot of their ships back to their home base. Assault Group Enlightenment has 14k fleet power. It should be more than up to the task, and it will arrive at 15 September 2037. Engage. And yes, I have attached 2 Terra class monitors, the nuke boats, to make sure that those bases go down. As you can see, there's a lot of alien ships moving toward to attempt to counterattack our positions in the inner system, but for the moment, my interceptions are doing really well. And I don't see them posing a serious threat. I mean, the defense fleets have mostly been able to do the job. I expect they'll continue to be able to do so. The aliens are rallying up some larger forces, but as long as I engage them primarily on favourable terms, so intercepting before they connect with each other, or defending around a station, I should be absolutely fine. 536 Merapi is one of the last producing bases that the aliens have, so of course Nuke Force 1, the Turing in particular, is going to deploy its weapons. Looks like there is a mothership en route. We will, as usual, just burn DV to evade and destroy the base. Oh no, there is a mothership that would destroy... I will just evade. Okay. That must be how the aliens feel in the early game, where they can just effortlessly just decide not to engage the humans, and it's only because of their overconfidence they ever get destroyed. Alright, that's Shattered Sky Base on 536 Merapi destroyed. Let's just do a quick check on aliens. Surface bases, 1, 2, 3, we're aware of. We're aware of the surface base on Saturn, which means our last stop is going to be Seaflower Base in Neptune. So, NF1, how are you looking on DV? You're looking okay. How would a quick refuel at Titan treat you? It's 6.9 weeks to Titan, 5.22 to Io. How about you burn 5.22 Io, you refuel, and then your next destination is apparently Neptune. No reason to stay around and engage with the station. It's time to leave. Fantastic. And the International Space Station, hooray, has been updated. So what we need is to show off. Now, I was originally thinking that I was going to put my first space resorts around Mars. That was one thing that we could do. So maybe the ISS should remain a science station, even if that's not particularly efficient for our purposes. If we just... What we can do is we can make it an interesting... First of all, let's militarize the northern part. Media center. Do we want one media center around Earth? Cost 1 MC. Absolutely wasteful. Let's do it. We'll have We'll have 2 space resorts on this space resort arm, flanked by more power generation. Let's throw in another agri facility just to feed them all because they need their fan. This is not an efficient station. This is just whatever. This is just the ISS having guns and... Like, the ISS just being the most confused station ever. Just having a mixture of power generation, militarization, and then we should have some scientific facilities for old time's sake. So we should have a foundry for development there. How about an information science laboratory and a... Let's throw a good old-fashioned research campus over here. There we are. That's the ISS. We only really have it for pride's sake. It's an inefficient station. I didn't really need it, so there we go. But more interestingly, back on Earth, we're moving into Eritrea, and we've taken Senegambia, which should be our final parts. Yep, great. We've got Guyana, or at least we've cooed Guyana. And then the Indian Army is arriving in Tunisia. And I'm about to absorb the African Union so that we can start seriously building up. You can join the war against Chile, because I think that means that Bolivia, you will get the land when the Indian Army finishes the occupation. And you can unify with the African Union. There we are. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And the reason we did that is so now we can actually start working on the country. So we need to fix everything. Everything about this country is terrible. So let's direct invest 200 points into the economy. Let's see how much of a difference that'll make. That's a difference of 13 per person per completion. So 5,836, 8,512. Looks like we've got new ships completing, which is great. So updating the caliphate, that's going to fix the unrest slightly. We do need to fix the democracy as well, so 100% knowledge investment down here. But I just wanted a little bit more GDP. We'll fix the inequality probably last. I'd like to get the caliphate an advisor as soon as possible, but you know, there are limitations at the moment. And then in terms of South America, I believe we're going to federate Brazil in a moment with Bolivia. There we are. Which will start there's the South American Union. So there's now a delay until August to unify in Brazil, which is handy. I'm taking control of a number of nations around South America. We'll start folding them into Bolivia. And the Indian Army is moving into Chile at the invitation of its president. Argentina, we probably will federate the old-fashioned way. I don't know yet. Anyway, we're working on the South American Union in South America, and now we can start seriously developing. Let's also add, for the moment, we just need a little bit of unity, both to hold this together, but most importantly, to push the public opinion up. I don't want anyone to have popularity in my countries. India's science income has gone way down. The reason it's gone way down is because India is now like a full democracy, but it's a full democracy where everyone agrees on everything all of the time, and everyone's opinion basically boils down to shit yeah India, shit yeah United Asia, Pan Asia, hail the Academy. Like, there is very little variation in public opinion, and cohesion is like perfect. Perfect. Everyone thinks that their nation is the greatest thing ever, and as a result, scientific goes down. But it's very hard for opponents to break into our country, and the army fights very effectively. Awesome, the economy has crested 50,000 per person. Inequality is very low, and we're pushing that democracy towards the coveted 10.0. Go, go, go.